All right, so you're ready to dive deep.
Always.
Today we're going to be diving into Ethereum
Oh, nice.
and trying to understand why it's been holding strong, even though the crypto market has been a bit of a roller coaster lately.
Yeah. Yeah.
You sent over this article titled Five Reasons Why Ethereum Looks Strong Despite Market Volatility. So we're going to break that down.
Cool.
So by the end of this, you'll know exactly, or at least have a really good idea of what's fueling Ethereum's performance, and then you can kind of decide for yourself what you think about its future. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the article jumps right in and points out this kind of interesting situation. So Ethereum hasn't reached its previous all-time high, almost $4,900 back in 2021.
Right.
But there are signs, it seems like it's still pretty strong,
Right.
kind of strange.
Right. It is. Yeah, markets are really complex, especially with, cryptocurrency. Volatility is like, it's always going to be there. But Ethereum's holding steady even with all that volatility. So something interesting is going on. The article actually goes into 5 reasons why that might be.
Okay, let's hear it. What's the first thing? What's the first clue?
Well, one major factor is it's the investments in Ethereum exchange-traded funds. ETFs, spot ETFs specifically. They've actually seen a record $295.5 million net inflow just this week.
Whoa, hold on. Okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
For those of us who don't live on Wall Street, remind me what an EPF is and why is that inflow such a big deal?
Yeah. So basically an ETF is like, imagine a basket of assets you can buy and sell on an exchange, right?
Okay.
In this case, they're tied to the price of Ethereum. What's interesting is that big names, institutions like Fidelity and BlackRock, they're leading the charge.
Okay, so what does it mean that Fidelity and BlackRock are getting involved? They're not exactly known for risky bets, are they?
Exactly. They do their research and they're very careful. So them being willing to invest in ETH ETFs, I think it shows a lot of confidence in Ethereum, like long term, not just a quick buck. It's a really big deal that these big names in finance are putting their money in.
Right. So we got these big institutions stepping in, but what about everyday investors? Are they feeling good about Ethereum too?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's where we see those whales you hear about.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about actual whales here?
Uh-huh.
That would make buying crypto a lot more interesting.
Not exactly. In the crypto world, whales are people or groups that hold a ton of a certain cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And these Ethereum whales, they've been busy. Just yesterday, they added a net 97,000 ETH. That's about $310 million.
Wow. Okay, that's a big splash. Why should we care what these whales are doing?
Well, how whales behave can really tell you how the market's feeling. When they start grabbing up an asset, it usually makes other investors think, oh, I don't want to miss out. That's FOMO. So what they do can kind of push the whole market in one direction or another.
Okay, so the whales make a move and everyone else jumps in. Got it. But hold on. It's not just whales making waves, is it? The article said something about people taking their Ethereum off those trading platforms.
That's right. In the last week, we've seen $1.12 billion of ETH move off exchanges.
Okay, I'm trying to understand this. Why would people take their Ethereum off the platforms where they trade it? Doesn't that make it harder to sell if they want to?
Yeah, it's a good question, but it shows something important. Moving ETH off exchanges usually means they're in it for the long haul. They don't want to quickly buy and sell. They want to hold on to their ETH because they think it'll be worth more later on.
So they're betting on Ethereum's future. They're putting it in a safe place.
Exactly.
But if everyone's holding their ETH, doesn't that affect the price?
You got it. You're thinking like a crypto pro. When lots of ETH leaves the exchanges, there's less available to buy and sell. Less supply and same or higher demand, that usually pushes the price up. So when people see ETH leaving exchanges, they think it's a good sign that the price might go up.
Interesting. Okay. I'm starting to see how this all fits together, but the article also talks about something called DeFi. I got to be honest, when it comes to finance, I'm kind of clueless. Can you break that down for me?
Sure. So DeFi is short for decentralized finance. Imagine if you didn't need banks or those traditional financial institutions to manage your money.
Okay.
That's basically what DeFi is trying to do. It uses blockchain technology, like the one Ethereum uses, to make a financial system that's more open, where everyone has access.
So it's kind of like cutting out the middleman in finance.
Exactly.
So what's the connection with Ethereum? Why is this important for how Ethereum's doing?
Well, most of these DeFi apps are built on Ethereum. And get this. The DeFi world built on Ethereum has just exploded. The total value locked, or TVL, in these DeFi projects on Ethereum just jumped by $10 billion.
Wow, $10 billion.
Yeah.
That's not just growth, that's like insane. What's making everyone pour so much money into DeFi?
Well, a few reasons. First, people think they can get bigger returns with DeFi compared to traditional finance.
Okay,
Second, you've got more control and transparency over what happens to your money.
makes sense.
And third, the stuff happening in DeFi is mind-blowing. New apps and protocols are popping up all the time, doing things we never thought possible with finance.
Right, so it's more than just a digital currency. It's like the base for this whole new financial world. This is fascinating. Okay, but before we get too excited, everyone wants to know, what about the future? Will Ethereum hit those record highs again?
That's the big question, isn't it? While we can't say for sure what'll happen, there are some interesting predictions and things to consider.
Perfect. Let's pause here for now. We'll jump into those predictions and look at the bigger picture in part two. All right, so those Ethereum predictions you mentioned, let's hear them. Will it hit those record highs again? What do you think?
Whoa, whoa. Before we get carried away, remember, predictions, especially about crypto, you got to be careful with those. It's more like they're looking at the trends, not telling the future.
Right, right. Okay, but there are some experts making those educated guesses, right? What are they saying about Ethereum?
Yeah, definitely. That article actually talks about Amber data. They analyze the market, and they say there's like an 18% chance Ethereum could reach $4,000 by the end of the year.
$4,000. That's a big jump from where it is now. What are they basing that on?
Well, they're looking at the growth in those ETH ETFs we talked about and how those whales are buying up ETH. They think the price is low now compared to its all-time high, so there's room for it to go up.
I like the sound of room to run. But even with all that good stuff happening, aren't there things outside of crypto that could mess things up? You mentioned macro events before. What are those?
You're absolutely right. You can't just look at crypto by itself. Macro events are like big things happening in the world, not just in crypto, that can shake things up everywhere, including the crypto market.
Yeah. Okay, give me some examples. Like, what kind of events could affect Ethereum's price?
Well, like if central banks change interest rates, that can make investors less interested in risky stuff like crypto, or like big political conflicts or trade wars. Those create a lot of uncertainty and make markets volatile. Even if the economy suddenly goes bad, investors might pull out of crypto and put their money in safer places.
So even if Ethereum has all these good things going for it, things outside of its control could still cause problems. It's like trying to steer a boat in a storm. How do investors even figure out what to do with all these things to consider?
Yeah, it's a challenge. The important thing is to stay up to date on what's happening in both the crypto world and the bigger world. And don't put all your money in just one thing, spread it around.
Makes sense. That's good advice for any investment. So we've got all this good stuff happening, those predictions are looking up, but we also have to remember these other things that could come out of nowhere and change everything. It's a lot to think about. What's the main takeaway for someone who's thinking about investing in Ethereum for the first time?
I'd say the main thing is that Ethereum's holding its own even though things are uncertain. It's got a strong foundation, lots of cool stuff happening in its ecosystem, and both big investors and everyday people are showing interest.
So it's not just hype, there's real stuff happening. But like with any investment, there are risks. What advice would you give someone who's totally new to crypto and thinking about Ethereum?
Do your homework. Don't just jump in because everyone else is or someone online told you to. Understand the technology, the risks, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. There's a lot of information online and even in libraries to help you learn.
Solid advice. This whole conversation's been like a crash course on Ethereum, and I feel like I've learned a lot. We've looked at what makes it tick, what's driving it, and even got a peep at what might be coming next. But there's one thing we haven't really talked about yet. Why hasn't Ethereum reached its all-time high price again?
Oh yeah, let's go back to that. Remember, markets go up and down all the time. That's volatility. Lots of things can make prices change, both within crypto and in the bigger world. Just because Ethereum hasn't hit that high again doesn't mean it's not strong or that it can't grow in the future.
So it's like looking past the waves on the surface and seeing the deeper currents.
Yeah.
Ethereum might not be breaking records right now, but there's a lot going on beneath the surface that shows there's a lot of power there.
Exactly. That's what makes this such an interesting space to watch. Things are always changing, new ideas are popping up, and it's constantly pushing the limits of what's possible.
All right, so we've talked about predictions, the things happening in the world, and even gave some advice for people new to crypto. What do you say we switch gears in part 3 and wrap things up with some final thoughts about Ethereum and where it fits into the world?
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back for the last part of our Ethereum adventure. We've talked about a lot of stuff, those big ETF investments, the whales making moves, the rise of DeFi, and even those big events in the world that can shake things up. So I think it's time to put it all together and see what we get.
Yeah, good idea. Let's go back to that first question we had. Why is Ethereum doing so well, even though it hasn't reached its highest price ever?
Right. We saw how those big investors are getting more and more confident in Ethereum, like Fidelity and BlackRock putting money into ETH ETFs. And then those whales buying up ETH, like maybe they think the price is going to go way up. Plus, remember all those people moving their Ethereum off the exchanges? They're thinking long term.
Yeah. All of that shows that more and more people believe in Ethereum, that it's valuable and it's going to keep growing. And it's not just talk. We see it in what's happening with Ethereum itself, especially with DeFi growing so fast.
It's like Ethereum's building a whole new financial system. What do you think is the most exciting thing happening in DeFi right now?
It's crazy how fast things are changing. New DeFi projects are popping up all the time with new ways to lend money, borrow money, trade, and even get insurance, all without needing banks or traditional financial companies. And we're seeing these decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs, where communities can make decisions about financial stuff together. It's a completely different way of thinking about finance.
Yeah, it's definitely shaking things up. But thinking even bigger, what do you think is the biggest thing people get wrong about Ethereum?
They think it's all about the price. People get focused on the price going up and down every day and forget about the big picture. Ethereum is more than just a cryptocurrency. It's a platform for building these decentralized apps that could change not just finance, but all kinds of industries.
Yeah, that's important to remember. We've talked about DeFi, but it can do so much more than that. What other areas do you think Ethereum could change in the future?
Oh man, the possibilities are huge. Think about supply chains. You can use Ethereum to track products from where they're made to where they end up, making things more transparent and accountable. In healthcare, it could be used to store and share medical records safely, giving people more control over their own information. We might even see voting systems built on Ethereum that are more secure and transparent than the ones we have now.
It feels like we're just starting to see what it can do. This deep dive has really changed how I think about Ethereum. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've talked about how Ethereum could revolutionize different industries, but what if it's even bigger than that? What if it's not just about changing industries, but changing how we interact and work together online?
That's a really interesting idea. Ethereum and the blockchain technology behind it could give more power to individuals, make things more transparent, and create a digital world that's more fair and decentralized. It's up to us to use it responsibly and thoughtfully to shape that future.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Ethereum. Thanks for joining us. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep. See you next time.